Good morning and welcome to the New York City Planning Commission remote public meeting. Verbal testimony may be provided online or by calling in on your telephone. If you wish to access the hearing, please register through the upcoming meetings page of the NYC Engage portal. Link to join the hearing is on the landing page after you register. Please do not close the landing page without first clicking on the link. If you are accessing the hearing via phone and wish to speak, you must first register with the dial-in participant hotline at the numbers listed on the screen. If one of the numbers is busy, please try another. The meeting ID is 618-237-7396. Please press pound to skip the participation ID, and the password is the numeral 1. The phone number is also posted on the upcoming meetings page of the NYC Engage portal. Please note that no matter how you're accessing the meeting, you must first register if you want to speak. Those of you who are accessing the meeting online will have the option to turn on their camera while you're giving testimony. So when it is your turn to speak, you'll be notified and promoted to a panelist. This will allow you to unmute your microphone and grant you the ability to turn on your camera. Please listen closely for your name to be called. There will be a short period where it will appear that you're no longer in the meeting. Do not be alarmed. You should rejoin the meeting as a panelist. If you're accessing the hearing via phone, your name will be called from the list of registered speakers, and you will be given the temporary ability to unmute yourself. You do this by pressing *6 to unmute your phone. For those listening to the hearing through the online live stream who have not yet registered to speak but decide they wish to do so during the hearing, you must first register to speak through the upcoming meetings page of the NYC Engage portal. It is not possible to testify through the online live stream without first having registered. For those accessing the hearing via phone who have not yet registered to speak but wish to do so, you must also first register to speak through the dial-in participant hotline that I described a moment ago. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes of testimony. There are a few exceptions to this time limit. Elected officials are accorded the courtesy of jumping to the front of the queue and are not limited to 3 minutes. If consecutive translation services are being used, the time will be extended to 5 minutes. And if an applicant team with 3 or more speakers wish to make a team presentation, the team will generally be allowed a total of 10 minutes. The vice chair will announce when the time limit is reached. Please be mindful of potential background noise during your testimony. Please make sure that if you're watching the proceedings via live stream, the live stream is muted when you begin your testimony. If you wish to submit written testimony, it should be submitted to the Department of City Planning. Mailing and addresses can be found on our website, planning.nyc.gov. Lastly, please note that this remote public hearing is being recorded. And with that, I believe, Mr. Secretary, you can call the roll.
Yes, and good morning. Thank you, Mr. Singer. Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, all. This is the City Planning Commission public meeting held remotely through the NYC Engage portal. Today is Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021. I will now call the roll. Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Here.
Commissioner Burney.
Here.
Commissioner Capelli. Commissioner.
He's muted.
There we go. He's here. There we go.
Here.
Commissioner Capelli is present. Commissioner Cerullo.
Here.
Commissioner Dweck is absent. Commissioner Edie.
Here.
Commissioner Knight.
Here.
Commissioner Levin.
Here.
Commissioner Marin.
Here.
Commissioner Ortiz. Commissioner Ortiz is absent. Commissioner Rampashad.
Here.
A quorum is present. The first item is the approval of the minutes of the public meeting of Wednesday, September 1st, 2021, and the special meeting of Thursday, September 2nd, 2021.
On the minutes, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes.
Next item is scheduling, calendar numbers 1 and 2 and supplemental calendar numbers 1 through 6. We have resolutions for adoption scheduling Wednesday, October 6, 2021 for a remote public hearing to be held through the NYC Engage portal.
On the resolution, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The resolution is passed.
Commissioners, the report section of the calendar will be laid over to later in the agenda. The next part of the calendar is the public hearing section on page 71. Public hearing citywide, calendar number 32. A public hearing in the matter of a proposed modification of Title 62 of the rules of the City of New York.
Do we have speakers on this item?
Yes, there's one speaker, Mr. Nevin Cohen.
Mr. Cohen, are you ready to speak?
We have him in the Zoom and are trying to get him. There we go. Mr. Cohen, we can reach out. We could leave this hearing open for the time being and then move on.
Okay,
Okay, so we'll move on, commissioners. The next item, Borough of the Bronx, calendar number 33, CD8 N220033PXX, a public hearing in the matter of a notice of intent to acquire office space concerning Community Board 8.
We have a applicant team of two speakers, Laura Spalter and Jason Ortiz.
okay. Ms. Spalter,
Good morning, commissioners. I am thrilled to be here to speak on this relocation of Bronx Community Board 8. It has been many years in the making. Community Board 8 serves Fieldston, Kingsbridge, Kingsbridge Heights, Marble Hill, Riverdale, Spuyten Duyvil, Van Cortlandt Village. We hold, as you know, public hearings on rezoning and land use matters, infrastructure proposals, deal with the ULURP items, monitor service delivery, resolve complaints on behalf of residents, and prepare capital and expense budget priority requests. So all those roles. Next slide, please. Okay, next slide. I think I covered that. Okay, thank you. I will speak on our current office and our need to relocate. For 38 years, Bronx Community Board 8 has been located in the furthest northwest corner of the district, making it very difficult for residents to access us. As you see from the map, we're only a few blocks from the Yonkers city line. We are in a low-lying basement, windowless, and the office has flooded twice this summer. We had 3 feet of water covered the entire office during Hurricane Ida. We have been cited, the office has been cited by the Department of Health for black mold. Last year, FDNY cited our office because there's only one egress. Not only that, we do not comply fully with ADA requirements. The ramp entering the office is too steep. Our bathroom is not accessible. And because of the way the office is configured, we only have a capacity for 15 people, tops. That's very crowded. No social distancing there, making it very small, and we are unable to host many meetings. Next slide, please. These are some quick pictures all the way on the right. If you go down that ramp, you'll hit a wall, very dangerous. We have very narrow hallways, and we don't have ADA access to the bathroom, and the office is very difficult. Here we've put up a lot of boxes and whatnot because of the flooding. Next one, please. Okay, our new proposed site at 185 West 231st Street. This location is in the middle of our district in Kingsbridge Heights. It is accessible by the #1 train and the #1 bus, #2 bus, 7, 9, 10, 20. It's a dream.
Ms.
The-
Spalter, excuse me just for one moment. Ryan, is each speaker speaking for 3 minutes, or is this a 10-minute hearing?
It's a 3-minute team presentation. We'll fix the clock. Sorry about that.
All right, so Ms.
I'm
Spalter's
almost
been on-
done.
Yeah,
She's been on for 3 minutes.
she's got maybe a minute left. I think.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm
is
winding
it
up.
correct in the room? Ken, can you, I'm sorry, Vice Chair, can you see that in the room? I can't see that. We were looking at another clock.
The proposed site reflects the district's population shifts and increased growth and will be more accessible for residents, especially those with disabilities. We have an open layout with 3 workstations for 3 staff members, which includes our district manager, pantry and waiting room. Our staff works from 8:30 in the morning to 5:30. And most importantly, we have a larger conference room, which will more than double our capacity for meetings and public hearings, especially in a post-pandemic where we now have to rely on so many organizations and churches and synagogues and the like, and that's been very, very difficult. So being able to have our own space is vital. The site will also provide top-of-the-line AV capabilities that will help with in-person and remote meetings and presentations. So that is
I was going to say
that is what
time.
I have to say, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so our next speaker, Mr. Ortiz.
Hello, I'm actually just taking questions.
Okay, are there any questions for either Ms. Spalter or Mr. Ortiz? There are no questions. Are there any further speakers on this matter?
No, they're not, Mr. Vice Chair.
All right, then the hearing is closed.
I will just go back that it looks like Mr. Cohen is in the room and able to speak. So if we can go back to our calendar number 32, the Kappa.
Sorry, I made a mistake in signing in for that. I'm testifying on the fresh zoning text.
Okay, we'll get you
Thank
signed
you.
into that. And that actually, there are no further speakers on the Kappa fresh rule change.
All right, then the hearing is closed. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, the next item, Borough of the Bronx, calendar numbers 34 and 35. CD1, calendar number 34, C 210398ZSX, calendar number 35, C 210399HAX, a public hearing of applications for a special permit, UDAP designation and disposition of city-owned property concerning wind powers.
Okay, do we have speakers?
Yes, we will have a 10-minute team presentation by a team consisting of Christine Quinn, Christine Chisholm, Tammy Farsili, Rondell Boudram, Megan Lineham, Alan Moadem, Aaron Warner, Winifred Campbell, Ted Weinstein, Ethan Goodman, and Eric Knowles.
So this is a 10-minute hearing.
This is a 10-minute team presentation, yes.
All right, so could someone please set the clock? So
We
I'll-
will get the clocks going. And I think you've all been promoted, so you guys can begin when you're ready.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Winifred Campbell, and I'm from the New York City Department of Housing Preservation and Development. With me today are the members of the development team working on 346 Powers Avenue, including the representatives from Women in Need and the Urban Architectural Initiatives. The proposed project involves the phased redevelopment of a site which is currently occupied by a transitional shelter for families and children operated by WIN. Phase 1 is proposed to be a 95-unit transitional family shelter building to replace the existing shelter. Once Phase 1 is completed, the existing shelter will be demolished to allow for the second phase, a proposed 223-unit new construction permanent supportive housing building for formerly homeless and low-income persons with 2 units for supers. The ULURP application was certified May 17th, 2021. HPD is the applicant and WIN is the sponsor for both phases. The application is before the commission seeking approvals for urban development action area designation and project approval and the disposition of city-owned property. The other ULURP action is a special permit pursuant to section 74-903 of the zoning resolution to modify the requirement of section 24-111 to allow an increase in permitted FAR for use group 3, not profit use with sleeping accommodations from an FAR of 2.43 to 4.8. I will now turn it over to the members of the development team to give more details about WIN and the proposed project at 346 Powers Avenue.
Any
I guess
speakers?
this is
Okay.
Christine Quinn. I'll jump in if others are waiting to go. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay, great.
Please.
Thank you very much, commission members. My name is Christine Quinn, and I'm the president and CEO of WIN Women in Need. And we will be running the facilities that will hopefully be built as a result of these land use actions. And I just wanted to take a moment to make sure the commission understands what type of services will be provided at both of these facilities. At the transitional facility, the shelter, and we run one there now, we provide a full suite of services exceeding what our contract requires. We have childcare on site. All services are trauma-informed care based. We have job training and job placement. We have mental health counselors. We have after school and recreation and a camp, all a STEAM-based camp, all summer and all school breaks. This is in addition to the fundamental case management that we provide our families. WIN is the largest provider of shelter and permanent supportive housing to homeless families in New York. And in fact, 65 to 70% of the people in shelter right now are homeless families with children, which most New Yorkers do not know. The second part of this project is supportive housing. About 30 to 40% of homeless families will only be able to thrive independently if they live in supportive housing. What does that mean? It's permanent housing like all of us live in, but on site there are case managers, psychiatric social workers, nurse practitioners, whatever the population demands to help make sure these individuals have the support they need to move through the challenges of living independently. Powers is built on city-owned land. It used to be the intake center. And we at WIN, and I've always believed that we should strive to use city-owned land for the highest and best resource. Certainly permanent housing is the highest and best resource for land in the city of New York when we still struggle with this vast homelessness crisis that will only get worse once the rent moratorium comes to an end. So I thank the commission for taking these land use actions under consideration. They will allow us to have the number of units we think are necessary both for economies of scale, but also to make an impact on this challenging issue in our city and in the borough of the Bronx. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. This is Megan Linehan. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at WIN. If we could skip ahead to slide 5, I'll just share a few more details on the project itself. So as Chris and Winnie both mentioned, the first phase of this project will be the development of a 95-unit transitional housing building, which will be next door to the existing transitional housing building. This building will include a mix of units, 55 large studio units at approximately 450 square feet, 21 bedroom units, 15 2-bedroom units, and 5 3-bedroom units. The benefit of redeveloping this transitional site is that this will actually be purpose-built family shelter, as opposed to, as Chris mentioned, a building that was converted to family shelter in an emergency situation, right? So we will have finally appropriate spaces for the childcare, social services, community space, computer space that Chris mentioned. The second phase of this project will be a 223 unit building of permanent housing, 133 of which will be the supportive units that Chris mentioned, and 88 will be affordable units that will be offered to the community via a lottery system. The breakdown in those building of units will be 12 studios, 82 one-bedroom apartments, 106 two-bedroom apartments, and 23 three-bedroom apartments. And these will range in size from 350 square feet to the studios to 850 square feet for the three bedrooms. If we can skip to slide 6. Just a few benefits that this project will offer the community and our residents. As we mentioned, the purpose-built aspect of both of these buildings is a huge benefit to everyone who will be living there. We do have 24-hour security on site at both of the facilities. There will be childcare on site at both facilities. These childcare and the supportive unit will be open to the community, as will the community room space that will be open to community. The last piece that I'll mention is just that we've opened a building recently in Coney Island, and over 30% of the hires that we made were from the community, working with the local council member and the local Workforce One Center. If we could skip to slide 7, just to mention briefly that we believe that this location is very well suited to housing families because of its close proximity to both transportation, healthcare, and other services. And now I'll let our colleague Alan speak more about the design of the building.
Slide 8, please. Good morning, everyone. My name is Alan Mogadam, principal at Urban Architectural Initiatives, here to tell you a little bit about the architecture. Here we have a conceptual rendering of the development from the corner of Jackson Avenue and East 141st Street. In this rendering, you can see the transitional housing building in the foreground and the supportive building in the back. The street wall of both buildings are 6 stories and roughly match the height of the building on this block and around the neighborhood. After a setback, the supportive housing building rises to 8 stories and the family shelter rises to 11 stories to allow us to build the required shelter space for phase 1. The design of the transitional housing building reflects an elegant loft style built brick building common in the neighborhood with modern fiber cement rain screen panel interventions at the street wall and the setback above. Next slide. In this conceptual rendering of the development from corner of Jackson Avenue and East 142nd Street, here the supportive housing is in the foreground and you can see the transitional housing in the back. The street wall of the supportive housing buildings are set back from the property line and slightly angled in and out to create visual interest along the sidewalk and provide opportunities for ample landscaping from front of the building and privacy for the first floor tenants. The building will have a brick base and the mass is broken down using brick and fiber cement raised screen panels to bring a modern sensibility to design and accentuate the various angles. Next slide, please. The transitional housing building entrance is on Jackson Avenue and enters through a secured vestibule. The building lobby connects directly to the passive recreational backyard and the building amenities such as daycare, multi-purpose, laundry, computer rooms. A larger recreational room having a separate entry on East 141st Street and connects to the building lobby is provided for use for both the community and the tenants. The supportive housing building entries are split into 2, one on Jackson Avenue and the other one on Powers Avenue. Each lobby will have its own concierge desk and mail area for the tenants and connects directly to the large recreational backyard.
Okay. Sir, your 10 minutes have expired. So I'd like to open it up for questions. Are there any questions from the commissioners on the presentation or of any team member? Any questions? Ryan, I don't, Commissioner Marin.
Here we go.
So welcome everyone and thank you for the presentation. Christine, hello, I hope all is well. I really admire the fact that, we commented on the facade. One of the things that we are sensitive to is, or I'm specifically sensitive to, is the psyche behind being homeless and entering a building that demarcates that it is some sort of supportive housing or institutional building. And I did make those comments earlier on when the facades were presented. I will say that I'm very much pleased with what I see today. I think that it is a big change and totally different look much more welcoming, much more warmer colors. The street facade is broken up much better, in my opinion. Now you can see, the different facades, the different buildings, and actually complements the existing community better. So I want to thank you for that, because I know I was one of the ones that made a comment about the design, and I never meant to be insulted, so I apologize for that. I just really understand, there is a concern from the community that the community is saturated with homeless shelters, supportive housing, and one of the things that we want to try and have the community understand that, yes, while we understand that may be the case, we want to continue supporting those folks that need the help and providing shelter, and I want to say shelter, homes for them that are a warm, welcoming place that they can be proud to come and call home. So thank you very much for that. I applaud the team for that.
Thank you very much for your input and for noticing the changes. We appreciate it very much.
Absolutely, Kristen. Thank you very much.
Other questions for the team?
I'm not seeing any other raised hands, Vice Chair, if you are.
Okay, nor do I. I don't see any other questions. So are there any further speakers on this item?
There is one further speaker, Aaron Drinkwater.
They're not in the Zoom room.
Oh,
I'm not a speaker. I was just here to answer questions. Thank you.
oh, okay.
All righty, if there are no further questions and no further speakers, the hearing is closed.
Okay, first, Mr. Vice Chairman, housekeeping matter. I'm going to call the roll and call Commissioner Ortiz. Commissioner Ortiz.
Here.
Commissioner Ortiz is present. Thank you, Commissioner Ortiz.
We are better for it. Thank you.
We will now return to the reports section. Reports, Borough of Brooklyn, calendar numbers 3 through 6. CD 16, calendar number 3, C 210253 ZMK, calendar number 4, N 210254 ZRK, calendar number 5, C 210255 HAK, calendar number 6, C 210256 HUK. In the matter of applications for zoning map, zoning text amendments, UDAP designation, project approval, disposition of city-owned property, and amendment to existing urban renewal plan concerning Glenmore Manor. For favorable reports on calendars numbers 3 through 6, Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Burney.
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
Commissioner Rampachat.
Yes.
Favorable reports have been adopted on calendars numbers 3 through 6. Calendar number 7 through 10, CD 9, calendar number 7, C 200184 ZMK, calendar number 8, N 200185 ZRK, calendar number 9, C 200186 ZSK, calendar number 10, C 200187 ZSK. In the matter of applications for zoning map, zoning text amendments, and special permits concerning 960 Franklin Avenue rezoning. Commissioners, for unfavorable reports on calendar numbers 7 through 10. Again, unfavorable reports on calendars 7 through 10. Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Burney.
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner
I'm
Ortiz.
not on mute.
Yes.
Commissioner Rampachat.
Yes.
Unfavorable reports have been adopted on calendars number 7 through 10. Borough of Brooklyn, calendar numbers 11 through 16, CD 2 and CD 6, calendar number 11, C 210177 ZMK, calendar number 12, N210178 ZRK, calendar number 13, C210179 MMK, calendar number 14, C210180 MMK, calendar number 15, C210053 PPK, calendar number 16, C210052 HAK. In the matter of applications for zoning map, city map, zoning text amendments, disposition of city-owned property, UDAP designation, and project approval concerning Gowanus Neighborhood Plan. For favorable reports on calendars numbers 11, 13 through 16, and favorable reports as modified on calendar number 12. Vice Chairman Knuckles.
I am delighted to vote yes on the Gowanus Neighborhood Plan today. This vote is a key milestone in the process of approving this unique and innovative plan, one that is shaped by the Gowanus community and stands for equity and sustainability in this great city of ours. And as our housing crisis continues to grow, and in the face of a deadly virus, this proposal means 8,000 new homes, 3,000 of them affordable, and a modern and sustainable mixed income community that will allow people to live, work, and play in a green Gowanus for generations to come. This plan is built on community engagement led by the department, City Council members Brad Lander and Steve Levin, and Brooklyn's Community Board 6, and demonstrates how a hugely collaborative process can lead to an outstanding result. I want to particularly recognize the work of several divisions of the Department of City Planning who have worked tirelessly to turn the feedback and suggestions received in this outstanding plan. Council, environmental review, zoning, technical review, capital planning, and particularly the Brooklyn office and the plans project manager, Jonathan Keller, with Amrita Mahesh, Saji Golan, Jonah Rogoff, and of course, Winston Von Engel. With that, I vote yes.
Commissioner Burney.
I second the sentiments expressed by Vice Chair Knuckles, and I vote yes.
Commissioner Capelli.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Also echoing the comments of Vice Chair Knuckles, I vote yes.
Commissioner Knight.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Hi, yes. So, I've given this a lot of thought, and I appreciate a lot of the feedback I've received on some of the decisions around retail. But I do continue to want to encourage DCP to take a really hard look at projections of future retail demand when planning for communities like Gowanus. This could be a wonderful opportunity to bring the over-retailing and the under-housing of America into better balance, and New York specifically, but this is happening everywhere. The new retail that's projected in this area, there's no calculation that any of the new residential that is projected will support all of the new retail, and it continues to be a really significant concern. And while I do understand some of the decisions made around where retail has been placed in the plan, I still think the issue of over-retailing remains something for consideration. So I abstain.
Commissioner Rampachat.
Yes.
Favorable reports on calendar numbers 11, 13 through 16, and favorable report as modified on calendar number 12 have been adopted. Calendar numbers 17 through 20. CD2 for Brooklyn, calendar number 17, C210278 ZMK, calendar number 18, N210279 ZRK, calendar number 19, C210280 ZSK, calendar number 20, C210281 ZSK. In the matter of applications for zoning map, zoning text amendments, and special permits concerning 130 St. Felix Street. For favorable reports on calendar numbers 17 through 20. Vice Chairman Knuckles,
Yes.
Commissioner Burney,
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo,
Yes.
Commissioner Edie,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Yes.
Commissioner Levin,
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Why don't we proceed, Mr. Secretary? We'll come back to Mr. Marin, Commissioner Marin.
Yes, Mr. Vice Chairman. Commissioner Ortiz,
Yes.
Commissioner Rampachat,
Yes.
Commissioner Marin,
What do we do in such a case? I believe Commissioner
Yes,
Marin.
am I back? Am I
Yes,
back?
you're back.
Hello?
Yes, there we go.
You need
Yes.
to vote.
I'm sorry, I'm having difficulties. I was flooded during the storm. I don't have internet connection. I have a hotspot. I apologize.
It's all right.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
thank you, Commissioner Marin. Favorable reports have been adopted on calendars numbers 17 through 20. Borough of Manhattan, calendar numbers 21 and 22. CD5, calendar number 21, C 210-369 calendar number 22, C 210-370 in the matter of applications for the grant of special permits concerning the 343 Madison Avenue MTA headquarters. For favorable reports on calendars numbers 21 and 22. Vice Chairman Knuckles,
Yes.
Commissioner Burney,
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli,
I believe I should be recused on this.
Commissioner Capelli is recused. Commissioner Cerullo,
Also recused.
Also recused, yes.
recused. Commissioner Edie,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Yes.
Commissioner Levin,
Yes.
Commissioner Marin,
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz,
Yes.
Commissioner Rampachat.
Yes.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Favorable reports have been adopted on calendar numbers 21 and 22. Calendar numbers 23, 24, and 25, Borough of Manhattan, CD8. Calendar number 23, C210351ZMM. Calendar number 24, N210352ZRM. Calendar number 25, C210353ZSM. In the matter of applications for zoning map, zoning text amendments, and special permit concerning the New York Blood Center. For favorable reports on calendar numbers 23, 24, and 25. Vice Chairman Knuckles,
Yes.
Commissioner Burney,
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo,
No.
Commissioner Edie,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Yes.
Commissioner Levin,
I share the comments of the Manhattan Borough President in her letter to us. I vote no.
Commissioner Marin,
Well, I understand that this is a mid-block application and it's taller than what it should be. For a normal application, this is a blood center that's necessary for the city of New York, and so I vote yes.
Commissioner Ortiz,
Yes.
Commissioner Rampachat.
Yes.
Favorable reports have been adopted on calendar numbers 23, 24, and 25. Borough of Queens, calendar numbers 26 and 27. CD1, calendar number 26, C210025ZMQ. Calendars number 27, N210026ZRQ. In a matter of applications for zoning map and zoning text amendments concerning Broadway and 11th Street rezoning. For favorable reports on calendar numbers 26 and 27. Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes, Mr. Secretary, and I believe Commissioner Rampachat is recused on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. And
I
noted.
vote yes. I vote yes.
Commissioner Burney,
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo,
Yes.
Commissioner Edie,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Yes.
Commissioner Levin,
Yes.
Commissioner Marin,
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
Favorable reports have been adopted on calendar numbers 26 and 27. Calendar numbers 28, 29, and 30, also in the Borough of Queens. CD1, calendar number 28, C210459ZSQ. Calendar number 29, N210457ZAQ. Calendar number 30, N210458ZAQ. In the matter of applications for the grant of special permit and authorizations concerning Wildflower Studios. For a favorable report on calendar number 28 and for adoption on calendar numbers 29 and 30. Vice Chairman Knuckles,
Yes.
Commissioner Burney,
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo,
Yes.
Commissioner Edie,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Yes.
Commissioner Levin,
Yes.
Commissioner Marin,
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz,
Yes.
Commissioner Rampachat.
Yes.
A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 28 and calendar numbers 29 and 30 have been adopted. Borough of Staten Island, calendar number 31, our last voting item for this morning, commissioners. CD3, N210346 RCR. In the matter of an application for the grant of a certification concerning 7 Massachusetts Street. For adoption on calendar number 31, Vice Chairman Knuckles,
Yes.
Commissioner Burney,
Yes.
Commissioner Capelli,
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo,
Yes.
Commissioner Edie,
Yes.
Commissioner Knight,
Yes.
Commissioner Levin,
Yes.
Commissioner Marin,
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz,
Yes.
Commissioner Rampachat.
Yes.
Calendar number 31 has been adopted. Thank you, commissioners. We will now return to the public hearing section. And our next item, Borough of Manhattan, calendars numbers 36 and 37. CD4, calendar number 36, C210408ZMM, calendar number 37, N210409ZRM. A public hearing in the matter of applications for zoning map and zoning text amendments concerning the Starrett-Lehigh Terminal warehouse rezoning. Please note that a public hearing is being held by the City Planning Commission in conjunction with the above ULURP hearings to receive comments related to a draft environmental impact statement. This hearing is being held pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act and the City Environmental Quality Review.
Okay, are there speakers on this item?
Yes, there are speakers on this item. First is a 10-minute team presentation by a team composed of Elise Wagner, Caroline Harris, Allison Ruddock, and Eric Schlamos.
Please proceed.
Good morning, Vice Chair Knuckles and members of the commission. My name is Elise Wagner, and I am a partner at Kramer Levin. I am Land Use Counsel to Terminal Fee Owner LC, the owner of the terminal warehouse, and Carrie Harris of Goldman Harris is Land Use Counsel to RXR SL Owner LLC, the owner of the Starrett-Lehigh building. And if you could advance the slides, I think, to the next slide. Thank you. Both of these buildings are currently undergoing as-of-right renovations that have been approved by the Landmarks Preservation Commission. We have been working with the staff of the Department of City Planning for 4 years to design an appropriate zoning proposal for these buildings and are very appreciative of the hard work and thoughtful contributions by many staff members. Because the zoning proposal was described so expertly by Sylvia Lee at the review session on Monday, we will be very brief. Next slide, please. The proposal affects the 2 blocks bounded by West 26th Street and West 28th Street in Manhattan. The southern block is occupied by the Starrett-Lehigh building, and the northern block is occupied by the terminal warehouse. These buildings are strategically located between West Chelsea to the east, Hudson Yards to the north, the High Line to the north and east, and Hudson River Park to the west. Next slide, please. We are proposing a zoning map amendment from M23 to M24 and are proposing to include the properties in a new sub-area K within the special West Chelsea district. Next slide, please. We are also proposing text amendments to expand the permitted uses for up to 25% of the building's floor area and to make changes in the sidewalk cafe, signage, and loading regulations. The purpose of these amendments is to provide both buildings with the flexibility to accommodate a range of retail and community facility uses that will foster synergies with the office and manufacturing tenants in the building. The broader range of uses will also support workers in these buildings and nearby buildings, as well as neighborhood residents and visitors to the vibrant West Chelsea, Hudson Yards, Hudson River Park area. We worked closely with Community Board 4 over the last 4 years, and we're pleased to receive their unanimous approval of the proposal, as well as a positive recommendation from Borough President Brewer. Both the Community Board and Borough President had comments that our next speakers will address. Allison?
Thanks, Elise. I'm Allison Ruddock, Environmental Services Leader with VHB, and I'm the Project Manager for the Seeker Review. The DEIS, oh, sorry, next slide, please. The DEIS, next slide, please, analyzed a number of technical areas and identified the potential for significant adverse transportation impacts. I won't go into further detail on these impacts and the proposed mitigation, which will be discussed in the FEIS. Instead, I'll focus on loading operations. Next slide, please. A subject that was discussed at a number of meetings with the Community Board, and which both applicants have worked to address at their respective buildings. I'll particularly focus on loading as it relates to pedestrian activity on West 26th Street. At the Terminal Warehouse building, as part of the as-of-right positioning mentioned earlier, loading operations, which currently occur at the street level on the building's different frontages, are being consolidated into a single location that's interior to the building. At the Star at Lehigh building, RXR has been working with the Community Board for the last few years to address loading and pedestrian circulation. RXR has studied its loading operations and is currently modifying the interior of the building to reduce the number of berths on West 26th Street and increase capacity at 12th Avenue. At 26th Street, loading will be limited to smaller and mid-sized vehicles, and larger vehicles will be directed to the newly expanded 12th Avenue location, as well as to an existing berth on West 27th Street. As detailed in the EIS, RXR has also committed to prepare a comprehensive freight and logistics management plan for the Star at Lehigh building, and that's being developed in coordination with city planning and with DOT, the Department of Transportation. As part of this plan, RXR is exploring a variety of measures. One of them is a mid-block pedestrian crossing on West 26th Street. This crossing has the support of both the Community Board and the Borough President and will be investigated further with DOT. Carrie. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Allison, and good morning, Chair Knuckles and Commissioners. I'm Carrie Harris, partner of Goldman Harris, representing RXR SL owners. Allison just addressed the Community Board's and Borough President's concerns regarding loading and pedestrian circulation. I will address their other comments. The applicant's proposal establishes the framework for a dynamic retail and business environment, the broad spectrum of permitted uses, and the applicant's commitments to the arts and local businesses will enable the economically viable, neighborhood-friendly, adaptive reuse of these historic buildings over the long term. You can envision this just by looking at the ground floor plans for each building. Could you move forward to the next image, please? The Terminal Warehouse's ground floor has two basic components. First, it has the tunnel, a unique pedestrian passageway and exhibition space between 11th and 12th Avenues. And it has numerous smaller spaces separated from each other by historic brick walls. Could you show the next slide, please? Oh, we don't have the next slide. Go back again. I'm so sorry. The red lines are historic brick walls that invite a variety of retail and production uses. Next slide, please. The Starrett-Lehigh building's eastern portion of the ground floor has already been repositioned as a combination of smaller businesses with a food court, an exposition space, and storefront retail. Verizon occupies the western portion under a long-term lease. That's the blue portion of the ground floor. Without knowing the future needs of retail or academia, the applicants believe that any additional area limitations on the permitted uses would constrain the long-term flexibility that is sought by this application. They may also inhibit the ability to serve the needs of the burgeoning local residential and commercial populations. The applicants and the community's goals regarding sidewalk cafes, open streets, bicycle racks, and street trees are in sync. Both want an attractive, walkable surrounding. The applicants will implement the street-related aspects of their projects in accordance with the regulations published by DOT or to be published by DOT and decisions of the Landmarks Preservation Commission. Inside the historic buildings, bicycle parking areas provide a total of 800 spaces. Next image, please. Oh, well, this is the street front at 27th Street, and you can see outdoor people using bicycles, and there will be bicycle parking. Next slide, please. That's the outside at Starrett-Lehigh on 27th Street. Next slide, please. Okay, here's where I expect it to be. Terminal Warehouse will even have a bicycle concierge. Each applicant will monitor the need for alternative transportation to meet the needs of their tenants. Next slide, please. We are happy to answer any questions, and we respectfully request your approval. That concludes our planned presentation. Eric Schlemus is available if there are any questions, as is Andrew Staniforth. They are each working with RXR on the first hand and L&L on the second.
Good. Commissioner Levin has a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you, Elise and Carolyn, for this presentation. It's just so exciting to see these two buildings that, you know, when I first started doing this kind of work, were just these darkened elephants that nobody knew how to, what to do with. And, you know, the world has fundamentally changed, and it's just tremendous to see these two buildings being so thoughtfully repurposed. Carrie, you referred to one of the issues that the community board raised, but didn't quite get to their point. They want a reduction in the potential for large-scale retail in these buildings. And while I understand you don't, you're wanting to build in the flexibility that your clients will need to shape these buildings over time. There's specific mention in the community board's recommendation that you were considering reducing the proposed 15% cap on use group 10A, which is the large scale retail. Are you still looking into that? Have you reached a conclusion? Is there any movement on that issue?
The applicants did seriously consider it, and there are a lot of factors that go into that decision. Exactly where would you draw the line? Why here and what number instead of another number, given the different floor plates in each of the buildings, and not really knowing the future. So their general conclusion was, no, we don't want to reduce the percentage. However, I think as we showed in the presentation, the mall-like impact of big box is not a risk here. The ground floors of each are by nature in the L&L building split up into small little units. The program already for the Starrett-Lehigh building has smaller spaces. And so the primary impact on street life that a mall might have, it isn't going to be relevant here. And to the extent there are upper floor spaces, we've already gotten fairly high. The second floor is already occupied by a government agency and by parking for Verizon and project management offices. It's broken up with different leases, same in the third floor. So the issue of exactly what the line should be of how much of use group 10A, it's very hard to assess with buildings, in our case, that's tenanted, or in L&L's case that is built with an atrium and the way it is. So we are dealing with it, this mall concern, with a commitment to bring in local businesses, with a commitment to have the arts in the building, and with the nature of the buildings as they are historic structures.
Thank you for that elaboration.
Commissioner Burney.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, thank you guys for the presentation. I do share Commissioner Levin's enthusiasm for the adaptive reuse of these buildings. I really commend you for that. It's really heartwarming to see it. But I do have a couple of concerns. One is, and these may not be avoidable just given current market conditions and so on, but one concern is the sort of constant erosion of manufacturing space. And we do need light manufacturing worker type space at low cost, and we seem to be losing it and converting it to retail. So that's one concern. And the second concern is that even if you limit the size of retail and don't have the big box, having these interior malls where you kind of vacuum all the life off the street and put it inside the building is not particularly conducive to sort of quality of life in the urban realm. And I would prefer to see the retail facing the street rather than being placed inside the building. So those are my two concerns, and I don't know how you feel about those.
I'd be happy to answer, Elise.
Let me just give a brief answer, and then Carrie, you can respond as well, of course. In terms of the erosion of manufacturing space, I just wanted to let the commissioners know that there has not been manufacturing space in the terminal warehouse building for quite a long time. In fact, what it was is primarily a self-storage building. And I don't think that that's the type of use that you would want to continue. So continuing manufacturing use is not an issue in terminal warehouse, although I note that under the proposed rezoning, manufacturing use will be permitted. So if there are certain types of manufacturing uses that come in, perhaps along with clothing manufacturing, along with a retail store, that type of thing could very well happen and would be permitted. And in terms of the indoor mall question, that's not the intention at all. There will be restaurants and other types of uses that will be outward facing in terminal warehouse. So that type of concern I think that you have is not the intention or the vision for the terminal warehouse building. Carrie?
Yes, in terms of Sarah Lehigh building, which is occupied and has been occupied for decades, century. There is some manufacturing use in the building, and in fact, the structure of this rezoning has been purposely to retain the M2 zoning so that there could be manufacturing. We did not apply to have a complete zone change for the entire building. Only 25% of the building is being allowed to convert to this broader swatch of commercial uses. M2 uses are going to be necessary in 75% of the building. It's a 1.8 million square foot building. So there's plenty of opportunities still for manufacturing. And in fact, one of the other impetuses for this rezoning proposal and text amendment is that there are manufacturers who had offices and manufacturing and design studios in the building, in particular clothing manufacturers, who could not, by the zoning, have a store downstairs on the ground floor to show the clothing that they designed. So we were trying through this rezoning to be able to make that bridge between manufacturing and commercial and be able to offer that opportunity for manufacturers in the future.
So that's more consistent with the model at Industry City, for example. Is that how you envisage that?
Well, we thought about it before Industry City, so.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
The other point about outward facing, both of these buildings are full block buildings. So there's inevitably there's going to be an interior that doesn't have a window, but the buildings cover all four corners of the block, all four sides of the block rather. So again, there's a lot of attention being paid by both applicants to the interaction between the buildings and the street. 27th Street, as I quickly showed through the slides, not planning to, but you saw, is intended to be a real focus of activity at the street level, both for the businesses that would be inside the buildings, but in order to make 27th Street a much more pleasant thoroughfare for pedestrians to walk across from, for example, going from the High Line over to Hudson River Park. So there's a lot of attention being paid to how the buildings interact with the street and create a street life.
Thank you. I appreciate the responses.
Other questions for the team members? If not, we'll move on to our next speaker, who is Paul Devlin. Paul Devlin.
Good morning, commissioners. My name is Paul Devlin. I'm co-chair of the Chelsea Land Use Committee of Community Board 4. The Chelsea Land Use Committee has reviewed this application. We've held a public hearing on the zoning text amendment application in our January 6, 2021 full board meeting and have submitted written documents detailing our position. We have enjoyed working with the development team over these years and appreciate the multiple considerations of our issues and concerns. The proposed rezoning would add 2 blocks to the special West Chelsea district, which was originally adopted in 2005. CB4 had requested these 2 blocks, in addition to others north and south of these blocks, to be included in the original creation of the district, and we remain consistent in our support of these blocks being part of the district. The goals of the West Chelsea district are to facilitate an appropriate integration of industrial, commercial, and residential uses in the area surrounding the reuse of the High Line. These 2 blocks between the High Line and the Hudson River play an important role in linking these uses in our community. However, in our numerous conversations with the applicants and with the community, there remains a consistent problem that needs to be addressed. To be clear, the board has offered our approval with conditions. It is notable that this morning's presentation from the applicant does not adequately address the condition I will discuss. The proposed rezoning would allow for commercial uses for use groups 10A, which allows destination retail, and the applicant is proposing a maximum of 15% of total floor area in group 10A. We think 15% of total floor area is too high, given the total square footage of these buildings. 15% of the total floor area would allow over 440,000 square feet of destination retail. This would mean with a 15% cap, this proposed rezoning would allow approximately 5 large destination retailers on 2 blocks, retailers such as Target, Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's, and Bed Bath & Beyond. This has the potential to turn this area into another 6th Avenue collection of national destination retailers. These large-scale retail uses will alter the character of West Chelsea and are not consistent with the goals of the special district. We have had many conversations with the applicant requesting they offer solutions to address our concerns. We have discussed ideas such as restricting individual maximum square footage per retailer, or restricting retailer only to manufacturers within the building, or allocating a majority of retail space only to local retailers. They have yet to offer up a specific solution to be included in this amendment. The applicant has told us that it isn't their intent to turn this into a destination retail facility, yet without zoning protections in place, we have no guarantee that won't happen. And we don't feel it's incumbent on us to figure out an economically viable option for the applicant and figure out what numbers will work. But we know 440,000 square feet of retail is simply too much for this neighborhood. As an alternative, as Commissioner Levin points out, we have suggested reducing the overall retail be capped at 10% rather than 15%. The argument that retail will be limited to street level space might be true today, but we are concerned about multi-level retail spaces in the future. Most destination retailers who build in Manhattan now use multiple level facilities. So in conclusion, with no alternatives proposed by the applicant, We are requesting that the rezoning limits use group 10A to 10% of total floor area and to reduce the impact of big box stores and the mitigation necessary to overcome an influx of destination retailers.
Thank you, Mr. Devlin.
We do look forward to the repurposing these buildings and are excited for the future. Thank you.
Questions for Mr. Devlin? Commissioner Levin.
I really don't have a question. I just wanted to compliment Community Board 4 on the quality of their written recommendation to us. It's a pleasure to read such a well thought out piece of work.
We stand on the shoulders of great leaders.
Other questions for Mr. Devlin? Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Lane Washer, to be followed by Betty McIntosh, and then Andrew Staniforth. Lane Washer.
Hi, how's it going?
Let's reset the clock because he hasn't started yet.
And then, so the reason I hope that I'm in on the right one. Apologize, I'm in the middle of a training session, but I wanted to speak about the physical cultural establishment permit. Is that acceptable to take this time to do that?
That hearing is later today.
Okay, is that going to be like afternoon or a little bit later on in the calendar?
Later on in the agenda.
Okay, when I tried to sign in, it didn't let me switch which agenda I wanted to sign in for. So if I can just be put on to that to be called for that later, that would be awesome.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, hopefully Betty McIntosh is in the right hearing.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Betty McIntosh. I'm co-chair of the Chelsea Land Use Committee of Manhattan Community Board 4. And I will kind of repeat a little bit of Paul's testimony. On July 28th, the board recommended approval with conditions of the proposed rezoning for the Starrett, Lehigh, and Terminal Warehouse buildings. Both applicants have embarked on thoughtful master plans to preserve these iconic buildings, historic features, while updating spaces to accommodate current user demands. Their proposed inclusion in the special West Chelsea district is a much welcome, long-awaited measure that Community Board 4 supports. We do, however, have major concerns we ask the applicant to address. We urge the applicant to implement solutions to the dangerous pedestrian conditions on West 26th Street. Parked trucks extend into the West 26th Street, blocking the sidewalk. Pedestrians are forced to cross the street mid-block without seeing the oncoming traffic. There are conflicts between trucks, pedestrians, cyclists in this busy 2-block area. The applicant is funding a study of delivery operations to develop a plan to minimize these conflicts. Community Board 4 should be involved in this study. We seek to maximize pedestrian use of sidewalks. We do not want outdoor restaurants and bike racks installed only in parking lane. We want them to be only installed in parking lanes, not on sidewalks. Hudson River Park Friends supports this proposed rezoning and seeks streetscape improvements to connect Hudson River Park, the applicant's buildings, and the High Line. Community Board 4 looks forward to joining this discussion. Community Board 4 appreciates the important benefits of street trees. We are glad Terminal Warehouse Building has 4 existing street trees to remain, and an approved plan for 22 new street trees. LPC has discouraged street trees on the sidewalks adjacent to the Starrett Lehigh building. We urge the applicant to revisit this issue with LPC. And in conclusion, Community Board 4 strongly recommends approval of this rezoning proposal with conditions. And we welcome the opportunity to facilitate this transformation of West Chelsea and to work with the applicant to address a number of local issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Okay. Andrew Staniforth.
I am with the applicant team, just here for questions. Thank
Okay,
you.
any questions from Mr. Staniforth? Okay, thank you. Jesse Bodine. Bodine?
Guess he's not here.
Don't believe there are any further speakers on this item. Let me just refresh. My view. No, there are no further speakers on this item.
There are no further speakers, then the hearing is closed.
Just one additional note, Mr. Vice Chair, if I may.
Please.
For calendars numbers 36 and 37, the record will remain open through Monday, October 4th, 2021, to receive written comments on the draft environmental impact statement.
Thank you.
Borough of Brooklyn, calendar numbers 38 and 39. CD6, calendar number 38, C210119ZMK, calendars number 39, N210120ZRK. A public hearing in a matter of applications for zoning map and zoning text amendments concerning 506 3rd Avenue.
We have speakers on this item.
We do. There is a single, there are several speakers. The first is Eric Palatnik.
Heard of him? Is he in the?
Yes, he is here.
And I've heard of the acting chair Knuckles. It sounds well. Sounds good. How are you?
Please.
Thank you very much, esteemed chair or an acting chair and members of the commission, and thank you for your service to the city. I'm here today on behalf of Paul Bazile and Brooklyn Dreammaker Studios to request a rezoning of 2 blocks in Gowanus that you just acted on earlier from an M21 zoning district to, if approved, to a C44A district that I'm excited to say would create maker spaces and portion manufacturing spaces for a gentleman and a company and a landowner that's been doing it in Gowanus for the past decade and has had resounding success with all sorts of small users and manufacturers that we're proud to have here in New York City. Next slide, please. The blocks that we're talking about, you can see here in the Gowanus portion of Brooklyn. They are just off of the BQE as it leads into the tunnel into Manhattan. You can see it wedged there next to Lowe's. There are 2 sites, site 1 and 2. They're both on 3rd Avenue, both located in an M2 district. Next slide. This is site 1. It is a 5,000 square foot site. It's an M21 district. As you take a look at the pictures, you can see that the block front, even though it's in an M21 district, is quasi-residential in nature, including in the lower portion. You can see a new residential building in the R6 district across the street. Next slide, please. This is the building we are proposing to build. It is a maker space building. If it were to be approved by you, it would stand a total of 72 feet tall, would have 23,000 square feet of floor area, including some ground floor retail, exhibitioning, the maker spaces, and some of the uses that are upstairs, some of their goods. You can see there's landscaping on the roof. There's tons of green measures all throughout the building. Next slide, please. This is site 2. It's on to the left of the site you just saw. This site is shaped like a T, and I'll call that out in a moment. The building you see on the top is already built. That's an existing building built by Paul Bazile, who has maker spaces within that. He did that by accumulating development rights. Behind it, you'll see 2 other sites, which are depicted at the bottom. We're proposing to build 2 6-story maker space buildings there. That will be 75 feet tall. All 3 will be connected with a common courtyard. Next slide, please. Here you can see a bird's eye view of the buildings I was just talking about, connected by the common courtyard. And the bottom image shows you the clearest. In the bottom image, the building in the center is the already constructed building you just saw. If you were to act favorably upon this application, the 2 other buildings you see are proposed on the left and the right. Both will have green walls facing the residential buildings that are on the other side facing 3rd Avenue. Next slide, please. Here you can see the sites in more detail. It shows you site 1 and 2, including the T-shaped formation. I will note there are residential buildings within the remaining zoning district. There's approximately 24 units, 12 of which are rent stabilized. They're shown next to site 2 on the left and the right there. Those 2 lots.
Okay, Eric, I think your 3 minutes is up.
Be happy to pass it over now to the architect who can talk about the development, Manuel.
Before we do that, are there any questions for Mr. Palatnik? Commissioner Levin.
Yes, I wonder, Mr. Palatnik, if you could complete your thought you were describing, excuse me. The 12 of 24 residential units that are rent stabilized.
Yeah, sure, I'd be
What-
happy to.
These are not controlled by the applicant?
They're not controlled by the applicant. I just dropped my notes, excuse me. If you wanted to pull up the last slide I had, I could show you the two buildings where they're located. We've spoken to the owner. The applicant is a local neighborhood person, so he knows everybody. They're depicted next to site 2 on the left side there. It's lots 40 and 42, which is on the corner of 13th Street and 3rd Avenue. There are 12 rent stabilized units located within those buildings. There is no plan to replace those or do anything to those buildings by the current owner. It is forecast that the remaining 14 market rate sites, units that are left, may or may not be redeveloped as a part of this application. That was what the EAS found.
Okay, but none of them has rent stabilized units?
No, not the two to the left of us, and there's no intent to develop those.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions for Mr. Palatnik? Okay, our next speaker is Paul Basile. Paul Basile.
Hi, Vice Chair. Thank you. I'm here just to answer questions. I appreciate the time and the opportunity to hear this and give my family the opportunity to continue to provide the type of manufacturer maker space that I feel Gowanus is in need of. So I'm here to answer questions, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Questions for Mr. Basile? Don't see any, so we will proceed. Our next speaker is Joel Moskowitz. Joel Moskowitz.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Joel Moskowitz. I'm the owner of Tools for Working Wood. We're a manufacturing retail business on the Gowanus Sunset Park border. Here on behalf of Paul Basile and the Brooklyn Dreammaker Studios. I want to say that the requested change in zoning is subtle, and the proposed project is about community and creating modern jobs as an incubator for even more modern jobs in a mixed-use neighborhood. It's not an oversized project, and I think most important, it won't dominate and change the character of the neighborhood. It actually builds on the neighborhood. Okay, it builds constructively on what already exists. The developer, Mr. Basile, he has a long history of supporting and encouraging small business development. And I've been the beneficiary of that. He really wants small businesses, small manufacturing business, as well as medium-sized business to prosper. And everything he's been doing is kind of pushed in that direction. And this is a natural evolution of the stuff he's been doing. And it'll create jobs. It's going to complement the residential growth because if people live here, they want to work here. Okay, and I think it's important to support a local developer doing something constructive, and also the benefits of the project gets reinvested locally, which is his family's been doing for 50, 60 years, and that's a great thing. So I support the project. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Moskowitz? Okay, our next speaker is Manuel Zarate. Manuel Zarate, who will be followed by Katie Muhlenkamp. Mr. Zarate.
Yes, good morning. My name is Manuel Zarate. I work for Brickyard Designs. We assisted Paul Basile in the design of this development. Our focus was to make sure that our proposal fits the neighborhood's character. That was very important for the community board. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have in regards to the design of the building.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Zarate? Commissioner Burney, who will be followed by Commissioner Rampershad. Commissioner Burney.
Thank you. Yes, I just wanted to comment and thank the architects and the applicant for the improvement in the facade design compared to what we had seen at the review session. So I appreciate the work that you've done on it. I do think they look better. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. We heard your input, and would definitely appreciate you taking into consideration.
Commissioner Rampershad.
Yeah, I too would like to share the sentiments of Commissioner Burney. I like the changes of facade.
My question was really to the rooftop. I saw you have on the information we have is totally recreational space. Are you going to have mechanical equipment up there?
So we have on the 506 building, we have on the main roof level, we do have a recreation space for the building tenants. The mechanical equipment will be located on top up on the bulkheads, the elevator bulkhead and on the stair bulkheads. On the 530 development, the T-shaped building, there is a large indoor, interior outdoors court on the roof above the first floor, which connects all three buildings. That's intended to serve all building tenants, sorry. And the mechanical equipment will be located further up on the main roof, where we have solar panels as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, my speakers list has gone down. I believe Ms. Muhlenkamp was the next speaker.
Hi, I think I may have signed up incorrectly. I'm intending to testify for the PCE proposal.
Okay.
So I signed myself up for that as well. So sorry about that.
We'll get you in there. Thank you.
Okay, Lucy Coteen. Lucy Coteen, to be followed by Tae-wook Cha.
Okay, can you hear me now? Yes.
Yes.
So before I say anything about this proposal, I want to comment about your website. I really wanted to sign up for something else that was listed on your website, but it wasn't clear as to whether it was just a vote or one could comment on the matter. So on your website, if you listed the agenda saying vote only or open to comment, it would really be helpful. And then make it easier for people to sign up to comment and not have to go to another site to sign up. So really I really wanted to comment on a different issue that had come up where you voted only, but I just want to say that this sounds like a positive development. It's in scale, it promotes neighborhood jobs. And I wonder if Mr. Palatner or Mr. Basile could say more about what they had in mind for their maker space, because that's a term that's often used for product development. You know, if one of them could comment more about what that means to them, what kind of manufacturing they envision, and would it all be local? That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Coteen. Tae-wook Cha.
Hi, I'm the landscape architect in the team and only here to answer questions.
Questions for the landscape architect? I don't see any. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Are there any other speakers?
No, there are no further speakers on this item.
All right, if there are no further speakers, then the hearing is closed.
Next item, commissioners, is a citywide item, calendar number 40, N210382ZRY, a public hearing in the matter of an application for a zoning text amendment concerning health and fitness citywide text amendment.
Christina Hinkson.
Thank you, City Planning Commission, for the opportunity to speak. Good morning. I'm Christina Hinkson, president of the New York State Society of Medical Massage Therapists Incorporated, NSMIT for short. NSMIT is here today to support the Health and Fitness Amendment. Since 1927, NSMIT has been leading the massage therapy profession in the city, state, and the nation. Thanks to Governor Rockefeller, NSMIT is responsible for getting massage therapy regulated as a licensed healthcare profession under Title VIII with other healthcare professions since 1967. Health insurance coverage for massage therapy is under workman's compensation, no-fault auto insurance, and most FSA, HSA plans. We are also responsible for having the name change from medical masseuse to massage therapist with title protection. Today, we have been corresponding with the White House's Office of Management and Budget to have the word massage parlor removed from the NAICS code system as it lends to misrepresentation and market confusion. That's why we're having this moment today. To become a massage therapist with all protections, one must attain an associate's degree, pass the state board exam to be licensed, and then registered. The registration, the critical credential, must be renewed every 3 years upon the completion of 36 continuing education credits. New York State Ed audits massage therapists to demonstrate proof of completing these credits. License and registration is available to the public record at the New York State Education Department's website. Massage therapists can carry professional liability insurance. In the state of New Jersey, it is the law that massage therapists have professional liability insurance to practice. The special permit is a burden to our profession as presented by New York City Planning, nor has the special permit been effective as it was intended to prevent commercial sex or unlicensed activity, such as the illegal operators at the nail salon. Rejecting the proposal will continue with a system that is not working and missing the opportunity to address it with the help of our association. Rejecting this proposal is saying no to massage for cancer patients, veterans with PTSD, cardiac patients, burn victims, mental health, and the list goes on. In the pandemic era, rejecting this proposal is saying no to medical massage and manual lymph drainage therapists who are struggling to meet the high demand in response to COVID-19. If there is any stakeholder that has the most concern about enforcement, it's us, the massage therapy community. NISMIT makes itself available to any community board and the City Planning Commission to continue to advance this proposal to allow our profession to provide more input to bring the most competent and compassionate licensed massage therapists to the forefront while effectively preventing and eradicating the current illegal operators, as we best know while using correct.
Your time has expired. Any questions for Ms. Hinkson? Commissioner Burney.
Thank you. Ms. Hinkson, you mentioned briefly that your organization would somehow contribute to preventing this change leading to an increase in commercial sex. Could you just explain how you would go about that?
Thank you for the question, Commissioner. How our association would assist is really starting with the basics. Massage therapy or lay massage is still misunderstood as to who we are and what we provide and what are the laws around this. Every time we have a conversation with either a patient or a health official, we are always enlightening the basics of what massage is and isn't, and how we reveal where unlicensed operators surface, which is a lot of lack of knowledge of what massage really is. So the first step is really to understand our profession and what laws are currently in place that are not being utilized properly to protect us, versus just allowing any type of operator that says they're offering spa or massage and to be able to occupy. So we really see that there's still a misunderstanding, and once there is education, we can help collaborate from there.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions for Ms. Hinkson? Thank you. Gail.
Thank you.
Gail Ballas. So next speaker to be followed by Ryan Monell.
Good morning. I am Gail Ballas, member of the public, a voter, and I'm advocating for the massage therapy profession. I am a massage therapist since 1989, a member of the New York State Medical Massage Therapy, the Society for Oncology Massage, the American Massage Therapy Association, and serve on the board of the Pacific College of Oriental Medicine. My many thanks to the Planning Commission for the opportunity to comment, and I'm grateful this amendment has brought to the floor. It's long overdue. The professions have changed significantly since the zoning regulations were established. Changes include licensure, registration, education, continuing education, and title. The healthcare industry as a whole has changed. Massage therapists are registered, licensed, Title VIII healthcare professionals by the New York State Department of Education. We deserve to be respected and treated as such. Massage therapists have continually been victimized, receiving disgraceful accusations because there are bad actors using massage therapy as a guise for their work. It is unfair to massage therapists that they should be prohibited from work due to bad actors using our license unlawfully. The Office of Special Enforcement handles these matters. All massage associations have reporting in place to help people to report bad activity. Please stop victimizing us for somebody else's crime. Massage therapists have provided much needed, desired, and valued service to the community. Massage therapists are educated to address a myriad of pathologies. They work in private practice, doctor's offices, hospitals, Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, nursing homes, hospice, to name a few. We address patient issues from premature birth through hospice. Many massage therapists have volunteered during many catastrophes, providing care, including being on site at Ground Zero during the rescue and recovery of 9/11s. God, that doesn't get easy. The current regulation has been an unnecessary burden to the professions. We have lost so many good therapists due to the cost of being so prohibitive. It is so difficult to earn a fair living with such rules and regulations prohibiting our healthcare practices. The amendment is much needed and comes at a time when the affected businesses has suffered tremendous losses due to the pandemic shutdown. It will take several years to catch up with the debt and recovery. The time is now to approve this amendment, which will provide real economic opportunity and growth for this business sector. Massage therapy should be supported, protected, and allowed to pursue our work as the healthcare professionals we are without being encumbered by prohibitive rules and regulations. Please support us by passing this amendment so we may be unburdened and continue to serve our community with their healthcare needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Questions for Ms. Ballas? Okay, our next speaker is Ryan Monell, to be followed by Katie Muhlenkamp. Ryan Monell.
Thank you. My name is Ryan Monell, Vice President for Government Affairs for the Real Estate Board of New York. Revenue strongly supports the proposed Health and Fitness Citywide Text Amendment, which will eliminate special permits by the Board of Standards and Appeals for physical, cultural, and health establishments. The challenges and transformation occurring today in retail, from brick and mortar to e-commerce, is not a new phenomenon. The retail environment is cyclical. Trends come and go, but the business's failure rate, as tracked by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, has remained stable for decades. At the inception of the discussion surrounding PCEs, which led to the special permit process, it was found that on the blocks where there is a proliferation of physical cultural establishments, surveys show a general trend towards business loss and failure. This trend is evidenced by a general drop in the money sales in the area, large numbers of firms and businesses relocating to other areas, and noticeable amounts of businesses closing, as well as the real estate failures and recruitment difficulties. Today's PCEs are not detrimental to the welfare of New Yorkers or the character and economies of New York City neighborhoods. In fact, they bolster local economies and are valuable health amenities. While PCEs are no longer the cause of the above problems noted in the original 1975 meeting minutes, these comments are reflective of broad challenges New York City and its retail environment are facing while recovering from the pandemic, including business loss and failure. The zoning text must be adapted to the challenges the city faces today and is anticipated to face in the future. As noted in the Department of City Planning's application materials, the current special permit process is outdated, is unfairly burdensome to small businesses, and limits neighborhoods' health and fitness services. Ending the special permit process would allow for more equitable economic development in New York City. And according to the New York City business website, it is estimated that it takes 4 to 6 months to receive a special permit for a PCE. Practically, this process can take much longer, with the BSA self-reporting for the last full year available an average number of 244 days from filing to decision. The permitting process is also arduous. The applicant checklist has 17 steps to complete the application. The impact of these factors, in addition to the roughly $50,000 costs, as noted by the Department of City Planning, is the exclusion of potential business owners who lack the adequate cash to endure the special permit process it takes to enter the market. Data shows and tells us that women and people of color have far less access to startup money than male entrepreneurs, with women receiving only 2.4% of venture capital funds. Concerningly, entrepreneurs of color face even greater challenges, obtaining less than 1% of venture capital funds. Upholding Expensive barriers to establish businesses in New York City disproportionately impacts both female and minority entrepreneurs, which is not good, of course, for the welfare of New Yorkers or for the city's retail ecosystem. The detrimental effects on the economy and small businesses owners are unacceptable due to the PCE. And REBNY encourages the City Planning Commission to approve the text amendment and remove this undue barrier. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Monell. Questions? Thank you. Katie Muhlenkamp, to be followed by Lane Washer. Katie Muhlenkamp.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this time. My name is Katie Mellencamp, and I am the owner of two small fitness studios in Brooklyn, New York, one in Williamsburg and one in the Cobble Hill neighborhood. And I'm here to support the Health and Fitness Amendment. I personally went through the process of obtaining a PCE permit for both of my locations in order to have showers for my clients to utilize after they work out and primarily before they go to work in the morning, sometimes in the evening. Which is, pretty obviously a very normal sort of service to provide for a workout studio. By the way, my workout studio is kind of like a gym. We do bar classes, BARE classes. So it's a pretty intense workout, which causes some of our members to sweat. In order to have these showers as a normal aspect of my business, I paid a minimum of approximately $25,000 for each location. And that included close to $20,000 to a special attorney who would help me go through the process, and about $5,000 to $7,000 in permits. Just for this permit, and additional expediter costs. My expediter costs, were at least $50,000 for each location, and then the additional time and for my architect and my expediters and me put even more cost towards this. Pre-pandemic, I was considering opening up a third location, but I will say that the PCE process was a huge deterrent for me in terms of when I was considering opening a third location. It's extremely stressful and expensive to open up a business like mine in the first place. And the PCE process was horrific from my perspective. It did indeed take 9 to 12 months for me to get approved to open the showers. And so I wasn't even allowed to have showers until not even close, a year after I actually opened my business. And not having showers, makes business not as great because people don't want to utilize a place that doesn't have a shower. I would just like to say that I think that these rules, I don't plan to open another location, so I don't have any personal gain from this. I just have my past experience, and I would just say that I think it's very discriminatory. This type of permit and cost and pain does not exist for other types of establishments, and it doesn't exist for health and fitness outside of New York City. It seems outdated, and particularly at a time, like people have mentioned, during post-pandemic, mid-pandemic, when businesses like mine are struggling tremendously. This type of deterrent to get more fitness locations and gyms open in the city, it would seem incumbent on the city to promote businesses like this and promote their success. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Questions from Ms. Mullenkamp? Thank you. Lane Washer. Lane Washer.
Thank you for calling me back on.
Proceed.
I really wanted to talk today about the physical cultural establishment permit and how it's kind of really causing a lot of challenges for, I think, small businesses in the fitness, health, and wellness industries alike. My name is Lane Alexander Washer, and I own Train Limitless. It's a performance and wellness-based company here in Manhattan. And recently I went to start opening up a performance and wellness studio, only to find out that it was going to take 4 to 6 months to get a physical cultural establishment permit. And on top of that, it was really shocking to find out that it's going to cost about $20,000 to $60,000 in legal fees, processing fees, and all of that, on top of all of the other permits and insurances and operational costs that goes into opening up a new gym or business. At that moment, it kind of became clear that New York City, the city that I love so much, is not really creating a super inclusive reopening, given the fact that especially so many different studios and gyms had to close due to the COVID-19 pandemic. It seems really unnecessary to add this extra challenge as we all try to open up better, stronger, and healthier as a city and as a community together. I'm strongly in favor of amending this requirement to allow for fair access across all neighborhoods to health and wellness education and services. Removing this requirement would allow for me to be able to grow and thrive my small business, as well as many other independent trainers who I know here in the city. And it would be a great opportunity to also be able to offer fair access across all neighborhoods to the citizens of New York for health and wellness services for anyone looking to improve their quality of life, especially after everything we've been through. This would be a huge win for not just the health and fitness community, but for everyone in New York City. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Washer? Don't see any. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for
Eduardo Andrade. Eduardo Andrade.
Thank you very much for the opportunity of helping today. We are in favor. I'm Eduardo Andrade. I'm the owner of a GC company that specializes in building gyms, yoga studios, things that are related to this special permit. And we totally support the removal of this dated requirement. We understand where this regulation came from, but all our clients are very reputable and they do great work for the citizens of Manhattan. And in our opinion, this will help have more gyms and more places for people to become more healthy, right? I used to joke with my clients that there's a weird reason that New York City has this rule to prevent having more people in the city. I don't know why, but it should be the opposite, right? We should be promoting more healthness in the city. So that's why we support this rule, and we can see that it's going to benefit our clients in general, and of course the people that live in the city, because there will be more offerings of places for them to have better health.
Have you concluded, sir?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Questions for Mr. Andrade? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Brian, any further speakers on this matter?
There are no further speakers on this item.
If there are no further speakers, then the hearing is closed.
Our next item, commissioners, is our last hearing item for today. Citywide item, calendar number 41. A public hearing in the matter of an application for a zoning text amendment concerning Fresh 2 zoning text amendment, and the ULURP number is N210270ZRY.
Okay. I presume we have speakers on this item, Brian?
Yes, we do. The first speaker is Jay Peltz.
Jay Peltz, to be followed by Nevin Cohen.
That's right.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, please proceed.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to testify on behalf of the Food Industry Alliance of New York regarding the Fresh 2 CAPA amendment. FIA is a nonprofit trade association that advocates on behalf of grocery, drug, and convenience stores throughout the state. According to the statement of basis and purpose of proposed rule, the goal of Fresh, quote, is to encourage the development and retention of convenient, accessible stores that provide fresh meat, fruit, and vegetables and other perishable goods, in addition to a full range of grocery products. FIA fully supports this goal. However, we do not believe that a one-size-fits-all approach should be used to determine if a particular area is, quote, oversaturated with stores. The standards to determine whether a particular zone is overconcentrated should be flexible to incorporate factors such as shopping patterns, physical barriers that customers are leery of crossing, and the number of neighborhood grocery stores that are not Fresh certified that are already operating in a particular area. For example, major boulevards often create a hurdle that shoppers prefer not to cross, especially if they are shopping with children. The result is that grocers compete within many market areas with informal boundaries throughout the city. Accordingly, we suggest that the proposed rule be revised so that determinations regarding oversaturation reflect competition on a market-by-market basis. To accomplish this, we request that grocers operating within a 1-mile radius of a proposed fresh food store receive notice from DCP that it is considering a site for fresh certification. The intent is to provide the grocers who know the local market better than anyone, since they operate a store in that zone, with the opportunity to comment on whether the area can accommodate even one new grocery store without adversely impacting existing food retailers, and what number of additional stores would cause the zone to be oversaturated. This raises another significant issue regarding fresh, which is that it disadvantages grocers who are operating in an area before a site is certified under the program. If a zone is underserved, an existing grocer is needed as much as a new fresh certified grocer. Accordingly, the city should consider making comparable benefits available to operators who have already invested in communities with a dearth of food stores. Otherwise, as a number of fresh certified grocers significantly increases as intended under the changes to the program being proposed, existing retailers will be less likely to keep their doors open. Any resulting store closures would undermine the purpose of the fresh program, which, as noted above, is to encourage the development and retention of grocery stores offering fresh items. We look forward to additional dialogue with the department regarding these important issues. Thank you for considering our testimony, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Peltz? Questions? Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Nevin Cohen. Nevin Cohen.
Good morning, commissioners. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Nevin Cohen. I'm a professor at CUNY's Graduate School of Public Health and Health Policy, and I'm the research director of the CUNY Urban Food Policy Institute. A substantial area of our work is on programs to increase food security, and we've evaluated the FRESH program. I'm here to express our support for the proposed text changes. Supermarkets don't in and of themselves reduce food insecurity, malnourishment, or disparities in diet-related diseases, but encouraging supermarket development in communities with insufficient food retail is a matter of basic fairness and good city planning. During the pandemic, supermarkets were especially essential services. So city government should use the tools at its disposal, zoning and financial incentives, to make access to food retail easier and more equitably distributed. To make the FRESH program more effective, the Commission should adopt these proposed changes. Expanding the boundaries to encompass neighborhoods that remain underserved by full-service supermarkets will address unmet demand for healthy, affordable food retail. And establishing criteria to prevent saturation of fresh stores will address an unintended consequence of the zoning incentives, their excessive use in areas undergoing substantial real estate investment, and therefore their potential to contribute to gentrification. The City Planning Department and the Planning Commission should also address 3 related land use planning issues that affect food access. Planning for online grocers and food delivery. Since FRESH was first adopted, and particularly since the start of the pandemic, online food retail has gone from niche to more mainstream method of food buying. This has led to grocers to invest in new warehouse space, ghost supermarkets, and other food distribution infrastructure, also creating competition with brick and mortar retail, particularly for independent grocers lacking the resources to create online ordering and distribution channels. The planning department should assess these market changes and their effects on food retail and plan for the infrastructure needed to make online food retail more efficient, equitable, and sustainable. 2 other items include increasing grocery access at NYCHA, where 400,000 plus residents live. And this involves planning to ensure the right delivery and storage infrastructure for online orders and for activating ground level retail spaces. And third, planning for diverse food retail. Full service supermarkets will remain the dominant food retailer for the foreseeable future, but planning and zoning should support diverse retail options that require different types of commercial space and transportation infrastructure. And these include public markets for small businesses, seasonal markets for direct-to-consumer sales, food hubs, and distribution facilities to serve neighborhood retailers, cooperatives and food buyers clubs, and unloading zones, bicycle parking, storage lockers, and other infrastructure for online grocers, food delivery service, and urban farms. So the planning questions are complex. Developing neighborhood plans to enable a mix of food purveyors could build food system resilience while supporting local economic development. Thank you.
Thank you. Timing is exquisite. Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Questions? Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Are there any further speakers on this item?
No, Mr. Vice Chair.
All righty, then the hearing is closed. Mr. Secretary, are there any further matters for the commission today?
Mr. Vice Chair, no, there are no other business matters before the commission, but I do have some public information for our audience.
Thank you.
For those of you who were unable to or did not wish to testify, you can submit written testimony online by selecting this hearing on the upcoming meetings page of the NYC Engage portal through DCP webpage or by mailing your comment to City Planning Commission, Calendar Information Office, 120 Broadway, 31st floor, New York, New York, 10271.
Thank you. There being no further matters for the commission, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.
Time is 12:07 p.m.